this 3D image processing work. Now we will discuss like how this 3D image processing work. This picture is for the brain segmentation, and this is for the knee segmentation, and we just created a 3D model. So for in the tomorrow session, we will discuss the few case study of simple web software, and we will see the GUI of the software, and then we will see how to create a 3D model from DICOM images or MRI or CT images for research analysis, for clinical purpose, for diagnostic purpose. So now, how does this 3D image processing work? So the acquired raw data from CT or MRI scanner must first be converted into tomographic images via a reconstruction process, so such that the images can be interpreted and understood. So this is strategically achieved within the software accompanying the scanning device. The results, whether from CT or MRI, is a 3D bitmap of grayscale intensity. So consisting of a voxel, we can say 3D pixel grid. So in a CT scan, the grayscale intensity at a particular voxel relates to the X-ray absorption by the subject at that location. You can say usually the subject density. While from the MRI machines, it relates to the strength of signal emitted by the proton particle during relaxation post application of very strong magnetic field. So different tissue have different concentration of these protons. So thus different grayscale intensity arises in the images. So here you can see the grayscale intensity. And say the bone has different grayscale intensity, and the soft tissue has different grayscale intensity. And the reconstructed image volume serve as the typical input for 3D image processing, where the aim is usually to discover region of interest within the image and build a digital 3D model of the structure. So this process is known as image segmentation. We know it, everyone will know that, and can involve various approaches, because depending on the subject, objective and limitation of image quality. So in simpleware 3D image processing software, for example, the user can remove or reduce the unwanted noise like soft tissue or any unwanted noise that is not covered into our region of interest. Okay, or noise, we can say artifacts from the image through image filtering and probe or resample data to increase processing ease and efficiency. We can carry out the image segmentation using a range of efficient methods, including highly automated and user-guided processes. So the measure or statically analyze the resulting model's volume to quantify geometries. So we can introduce CAD component to model interaction with a complex image-based model. So we can export to a range of formats for further simulation and or for design work or for additive manufacturing or for simulation. So, now we will discuss about the basic medical image processing system. So as we know that okay, so we know that the first step for basic medical image processing system is image acquisition. So the image acquisition start from acquiring the MRI CT or MRI images from any scanner or from the modalities. Then we proceed for the processing step. So this processing step has many steps. So the first is our pre-processing, then segmentation, then detection and then analyzing the results, then diagnosis. So all these steps can be covered into this simple web software. You can see how we have created this 3D model. Then we have visualizing the reports and exports of our results for research and clinical trial or teaching purpose. So the simple way will cover most of these parts: the pre-processing of medical image data, segmentation of our region of interest, and detection of any tumor, any unwanted noise. Okay, this. Okay. So we will, for the tomorrow session, we will see how this pre-processing, segmentation, and deduction of our region of interest. We can say either we are interested in tumor or any other diseases, so we can identify and we can do the segmentation of our region of interest, and we can analyze our results. So we can prepare for like, according to our requirement. We can proceed for the diagnosis. So now we will see the different parts of the image processing. So we can. Okay. So these are the basic.
Very sorry. Apart from your voice, some other noise is coming.
Just okay. So now we will discuss the different parts of image processing workflow. So our first step is we can say we can go for the measurements and analysis of then segmentation and processing of our medical data set. Then we can generate we can see the model of our requirement. The model may be for 3D printing, that is in the format of STL or in any format that is required by us. Okay. Then we can also do the 3D image import and visualization. We can import our MRI, CT or micro CT data into the software. We can do visualizations. Then CAD and image integration. Okay, so now next is CAD and image integration. So this is like if we have any CAD implant and we want to position or incorporate that implant with the medical image data, so we can import our implant and we can position it with the medical data set, and we can create a finite element mesh for simulation export. And to reduce our some part of workflow, we can use the scripting. So we can incorporate script. We can convert our the log from the simple way into script, and then we can reduce the timing for the workflow in our image processing. So for the tomorrow session, we will discuss about the different parts of the image processing workflow. In detail, we will discuss tomorrow, like what kind of measurements and analysis we can take, and the segmentation and processing, model generation. So these steps we will see in the tomorrow session that we have in the morning. So now I will give you the introduction about simple software. As I already explained you about this software, so it's a 3D image processing and model generation software program that is developed by Synopsys to visualize, analyze, to quantify, segment, and export our 3D image data from MRI, CT, or you can say micro tomography, and from other modalities. For computer-aided design, finite element analysis, computational fluid dynamics, and 3D printing. So the software is used in the field of life sciences, material sciences, non-destructive testing, reverse engineering, and petrochemicals. Okay, so now what does this simpleware software offers? Okay. So it can offer the patient-specific surgical planning. So you can take pre-operative virtual measurements, or you can carry out the virtual this. Okay. So for this, the simpleware scan IP. Okay. And for the patient-specific device and guide, so SimpleWare Scan IP Medical is a version of the software intended for the use as a medical device. It has 510 market clearance from the US FDA as a Class 2 medical device, as well as CE marketing and ISO certificate. CE marketing. So, for the patient-specific device and guidelines, so in silico trial, so we can use some automatic technique to process large number of data sets. We can create or position or optimize devices. We can create in silico model for analysis and simulation. Or we can export device design or positioning to understand device performance and post-operative outcomes. So basically, you can speed up your in silico trial to reduce the cost. Okay. So for the product development, you can integrate product design. You can carry out the virtual planning. Example, like you can virtually check fit on human body or of your design, or simulation and 3D print. Like you can simulate the performance. You can print customized product implant instant. For industrial reverse engineering, so the software also has application in this domain, like reverse engineering. You can take scan of manufactured part, like casting, injection molding. So you can register your CAD to scan part to perform metrology, measurements, and deviation analysis. So you can facilitate like a simulation on a build or damaged part to check the performance and fit for purpose. So basically by this you can improve the quality assurance and you can reduce the time to market. Then for material industry, you can understand or improve the performance of a microstructure. For example, for foam, filter, composite, or textile, soil, or asphalt. So we can visualize internal structure from scan or synthetic data. We can calculate the porosity, surface area, pore, particle distribution, fiber orientation, and analysis, and we can analyze the network structure, like a center lines and Soltus tool. We can find out the Soltus tool. So now we have simpleware customer applications. So the software has application in life sciences and clinical application, and then materials and manufacturing. Now we have various applications like in clinical and life sciences. So the software can be used in for the design of protective gears, wearable electronics, screw and clothing, for the implant like guides and pre-surgical plannings, also for physiological simulation. This, Divya.
Are you there, Pradeep?
Yes, sir. Just give me 1 second. There is some issue I'm facing here. Okay, and then we can use it in the field of 3D printing. 3D printing preparation. We can prepare our 3D model for surgical planning and for research purpose and for teaching purpose. Then we have application in materials and manufacturing. So we can use it in the field of forms and filters. We can visualize forms in microstructure. So we can see the metals and rock composites. We can use in the field of rock, soil, and asphalt. We can see the flow through porous media, and we can generate the core network. We can use it in the field of reverse engineering to check the legacy of manufactured and scanned part. Then in the inspection and NDT means non-destructive testing, and for the metrology and deviation, we can check the deviation between manufactured part and design part by using few tools available in the software. So you can check the deviation. So now for the tomorrow session, we will discuss the simple web case studies. Case studies are like the variability and accuracy of spine segmentation and the total hip replacement and implant positioning, the holding, alternating and electric field for brain tumor treatment, then 3D numerical foot model for running shoe design. So this case study we will discuss for the tomorrow session. So at this time, if any participant, any faculty member have any questions, so you can unmute and ask the questions.
Dear participants, this particular software will be explained tomorrow in detail. They will be uh, in their laptop, they will be using that software, importing the DICOM images, and then step by step, whatever the workflow of image processing is there, from DICOM images, that is 2D slices to 3D models up to 3D printing. They are going to take sessions for tomorrow. If you have any questions to ask now, you may ask. So if someone is asking a question, in the message box there is a question.
Yes. So the question is this software open source or paid? So, but basically, this is a commercial software. It's a paid software, sir, that is used for the academic research and for the commercial use. We can also use. So in the tomorrow session, I think we will see how to create a 3D model from MRI or CT or from any other modality images. Then we will prepare it for 3D printing application, and we will also create a finite element mesh for simulation export. Either we are using ANSYS, Abacus, Adidas, Console, VTK, MATLAB pattern. So any software we are using, so we will show you how to create a 3D model, and then how to create the finite element mesh, or how we can define contact nodes, material properties, uh, cell set nodes, and how you can how you can define the material property based on the grayscale intensity. because age to age the bone density varies. So we will discuss tomorrow in more detail. So at this time, if any participant have any questions, so you can unmute or we can take a 5 minute break.
Can we define custom materials? Is this is one of the question.
Just can we define custom materials? Yes, we can define. So for the in the tomorrow session, we will see we can like in the material tab we can take our material as placeholder homogeneous or placeholder homogeneous
Yeah,
or
Pradeep. Our resource person is joining, Professor Srinivas sir, and he will continue with the remaining session.
okay.
So thank you for your cooperation, and I expect your sessions tomorrow.
Yeah. No, sir. Thank you, sir.
And most of the participants are having more questions. There are questions.
Yeah, we will take all the question in the tomorrow session.
Okay, Pradeep.
Dr. Poonam? Dr. Poonam Chandra, it's
You
okay?
are audible, sir. You are audible, sir.
Hi, sir. Okay. So, apologizing for the inconvenience caused as it is unexpected, unanticipated official assignment. So, therefore, I could break for the couple of minutes. So, excusing for that. Let us continue about this. Artificial intelligence aims to mimic human cognitive function. Why it is so powerful? This is the definition gives answer for that. Mimic human cognitive function. That's very important term. And when you are talking about AI, it is bringing a paradigm shift to healthcare powered by the increasing availability of healthcare data and rapid program analytical techniques. That's the reason why it is progressing, why it is so adaptable. The reason is that vast data is available and rapid progress in the analytical techniques. AI can be applied to various types of the healthcare data, structured and unstructured. Popular AI techniques include the machine learning method for the structure. Normally, machine learning we are applying to the structured data, such as the classical support, vector missions, and neural networks, and the modern deep learning as well as natural language processing for unstructured. Normally, we are going for the NLP, natural language processing for unstructured data. Major diseases, what are the diseases going to address? Major diseases are the cancer, neurology, and cardiology. Next slide, Dr. Poonam. The increasing availability of healthcare data and rapid development of big data analytics methods has made possible the recent successful application of the AI in healthcare. The major reasons are, already I told that rapid developments and vast data. And powerful AI techniques can unlock clinically relevant information hidden in the massive amount of data. It's very unlock clinical relevant information hidden in the massive amount of data. So the vast data you can get better conclusions. In turn, can assist clinical decision making. Ultimately, it gives efficient decisions. You can get efficient support, can give efficient. Suggestion can be given for the doctors. AI can use sophisticated algorithms to learn features from a large value of healthcare data and then use the obtained insights to assist clinical practice. It will the insights you are going to get. It can also be equipped with learning and Self-correcting abilities is very important term. Self-correcting abilities to improve accuracy based on the feedback. That is the reason why AI is so powerful. Self-correcting and accuracy will be improved based on the feedback. AI system can help to reduce diagnostic and therapeutic errors that are inevitable in human clinical practice. All these errors will be minimized. AI system extracts useful information from a large patient population, assist in making real-time inferences for health risk alert and health outcome predictions. So all this justifies the why we are adapting the AI. Next slide. Next slide, please. Dr. Punna, let us see what are the AI devices. So it's a powerful, let us say, devices also. AI devices mainly fall into two major categories. The first category includes the machine learning techniques that analyze the structured data such as imaging, genetic, and EP data. And in the medical application, the ML, machine learning procedures attempt to cluster patient types or infer the probability of the disease outcomes. The second category includes the NLP. First is the ML, second is the NLP method that extract information, unstructured data such as the clinical notes, medical journals, so supplement and enrich structured medical data. The NLP procedures target at turning text to mission readable structured data, which can then be analyzed by the mission learning techniques. Structured, unstructured. Unstructured, we are going for the NLP. Structured, we are going for the NLP. Yes. Next slide. And disease focus diseases, if you see that the research mainly concentrates around a few disease types: cancer, nervous system diseases, and CVD, cardiovascular disease. These are major, focused diseases. Of course, there's so many, but there's a major focus. All three diseases are leading to, why it is focused? There's a reason. All three diseases are leading causes of death. That's the reason they're focused. Therefore, early diagnosis are crucial to prevent the deterioration of the patient health status. Furthermore, early diagnosis can be potentially achieved through improving analysis procedures or imaging, genetic EP, EMR, which is the strengthen of the AI system. Imaging plays very important role in this disease focus. So AI has been applied in other diseases as well. Two very recent examples: the ocular image data to diagnose congenital cataract diseases, refer as a diabetic retinopathy. This you know very well. This is a recently success story of the retinopathy, diabetic retinopathy through the retinal fundus photographs. So this is one of the methods they use. The fundus cameras can be used for the diabetic retinopathy. Next slide. And what are the AI devices in continuation of that ML and NLP? Categorize them into three categories. Normal AI can be categorized three categories: the classical, the more recent deep learning, and techniques of the NLP. You can name it the ML and recent one DL. Last ML construct data analytical algorithm to extract features from a data input. To ML algorithm include the patient traits and sometimes media outcomes of a test. So the patient traits commonly include the baseline data such as the age, gender, disease history, and so on. Disease history also will focus. And disease-specific data, that is also very important. So the diagnostic imaging, gene expressions, physical examination results, clinical symptoms, and medication, and so on. All these parameters are very important for the ML. So besides the traits, patient medical outcome are often collected in clinical research. These include disease indicators, patient survival times, and quantitative disease levels. Patient survival time is a very important parameter which influence the ML algorithms. So next slide, please. So depending on whether to incorporate to outcomes, ML algorithms can be divided into two major categories: unsupervised and supervised learning. Unsupervised learning is well known for the feature extraction. So unsupervised and can be used for the feature extraction, while supervised learning is suitable for the predictive modeling. So unsupervised we are normally using for the feature extractions, and supervised for the predictive modeling. We are building some relationship between the patient traits as inputs. Already what the traits we already seen in the previous slide, and outcome of interest. Outcome of interest. More recently, semi-supervised is one of the new technique introduced. Supervised, unsupervised. Now, semi-supervised learning has been proposed as a hybrid between the unsupervised and supervised learning, which is suitable for the scenarios where the outcomes is missing for certain objectives. The missing data can be implemented and concluded. Even some data is missing, there is no problem for the prediction. That is possible in the ML. And next level. Next slide. And if we see one of the figure, what are the technologies are involved in this, new generations of medical technology products are combination of different technologies that leads to crossing of borders between the traditional categories and medical products such as the medical device, pharmaceutical products or human tissue. Let us see, if you see the first nanotechnology, cognitive sciences, and information technology, and material sciences, and electrical sciences, all these are involved in the medical image processing, and particularly if you are talking about the medical image, AI devices particularly. In the device, if you say tissue engineering and produce a gene therapy and drug and device combinations and smart materials, and all these are the comes under the AI devices. Let's go next slide. So if you see some applications are in this virtual branch and physical branch, and let us see there is a highly repetitive work, empower doctors, and objectives are is a highly repetitive work and empower doctor is going to empower. Augment the professionals, offering them expertise and assistance. Replace personnel and staffing in medical facilities, particularly in administrative functions. So those who are there in the medical staff can be replaced with this AI techniques. Managing with wait times and automating scheduling, deep learning device will not be replaced by clinicians. So that's one of the constraints will be there. Next slide. And as artificial intelligence in medicine is a virtual branch. What is the virtual branch? We will see. The virtual component is represented by the machine learning, also called the deep learning, mathematical algorithms that improve the learning through the experience. Three types of the machine learning algorithms: one is unsupervised, ability to find patterns, and supervised, classification, prediction algorithm based on the previous example. Supervised, the previous example can be considered. Reinforcement learning used for the sequence of rewards and punishments to form a strategy for operation in a specific problem space. Ultimately, reinforcement talks about the results and conclusions, and based on that it will be used. Next slide. And benefits for the artificial, there are so many benefits are there. That is, first, the early diagnosis is possible, can be definitely assist the physicians, no doubt, and the feedback is possible in this case, and reinforce the non-pharmaceutical management, and reduce the diagnosis and the therapeutic errors it will reduce. The one more advantage. The AI system extract useful information from a large patient population. One more is there. So all these are the very important benefits. Let us go next slide. And this is one of the easy to understand. Artificial intelligence medicine, the physical branch. Physical branch includes physical objectives, medical devices, sophisticated robots for delivery of care, and care bots. Care robots are good care bots, and robots for surgery. For surgery also we are going to. This is one typical figure, the remote telemedicine, something like that, for the easy understanding. Next slide. And here the one more, how the figures will be talking about the use of robots to deliver treatment, robotic surgery. That robotic surgery nowadays is coming up one of the emerging area. If you see any hospital, particularly if you go for the, Apollo Hospital or maybe Care Hospital, you could see the robotic surgery boards. So this is one of the upcoming emerging area. So next slide. And what are the growth drivers? What are the motivating factors? The growth drivers of AI in healthcare is you see that increasing individual healthcare expenses. Why you are going for the AI? The first growth driver is the nowadays conventional medicine medication, conventional treatments are expensive. Therefore, we are moving to AI based. And large geriatric problem. Geriatric is nothing but aged, old people. The database is increasing. Therefore, you have to go for the AI. Imbalance between the health workers and patients. Number of patients, the ratio between the number of doctors and number of patients. It's an imbalance. It's not a balanced one. Therefore, you go to AI. So then once it's not balanced, then you have to go for the mission based. Therefore, AI is advised. Increasing global healthcare expenditure. That is already we have discussed. Continuous shortage of nursing and technician staff. So therefore, you have to getting into the AI based. AI is and will help medical practitioners efficiently achieve their task with minimum human intervention. That is a very important point. Minimum human intervention. A critical factor in meeting increasing patient demand. So it will also meet the patient demand also. So one example, cloud-based treatment with the telemedicine, the general self-explain. Next slide. And what are the potential challenges? If we could see ground drivers, we have seen that the potential challenges are and development cost and integration issues and ethical issues and reluctancy among the medical practitioners to adapt AI. And even now, even today, most of the hospitals they are not adapting the AI-based solution. They are, reluctant and fear of replacing the humans. They are very much worried. They don't want to replace the human beings, and they may fear that they will lose the job. Therefore, they don't recommend for the AI-based solution. That's the one big task, big problem in India particularly. Data privacy and security, mobile health applications and devices that use AI, lack of interoperability between the AI solution. That's also very important. They know is the interoperability the problem in the AI solution. Data exchange need for the continuous training of data from clinical studies and incentives for sharing data on the system for the further development and improvement of the system. Nevertheless, all the parties in the healthcare system, the physicians, the pharmaceutical companies, and the patients have greater incentives to compile and exchange the information. That's the difficulty in India, particularly they don't they don't compile the data, they don't share also. State and federal regulations, the regulations also not supporting. They have to make the useful, compatible regulations for the adapting the latest technology. Rapid and iterative tools for software updates commonly used to improve the existing products and services. This is also one of the constraints and challenge. Next slide, please. And what the future in Indian scenario? It is the collaboration between the medical and technical institutions, which should be done. It is not yet progressed. And remove firewalls of clinical load and hope of IPR. And that IPR constraints are coming into picture. Sometimes you cannot use freely. Government funding more intelligent and result oriented. Government funding should be result oriented. And current state of the medical records incommunicable silos of wasted information for the health system and for knowledge acquisition. Laboratories and clinics need to be collaborative to accelerate for implementation of electronic health records. That's very important. The sharing is not possible nowadays. Data need to be captured in the real time, and institutions should promote their transformation into the intelligent process. New scientific and clinical findings should be shared through open source, and aggregated data must be displayed for the open access by the physician and scientists and made automatically available as point of care information. Automatically available, that not yet established in Indian scenario. And integration and interoperability, including ethical, legal, and logistical concerns are enormous. Simplification and readability and clinical utility of the data sets. Each result must be questioned for its clinical applicability. Aim of the increasing their clinical values and decreasing the health cost. And electronic medicine or health records are essential tools for the personalized medicine. Early detection and target prevention also again the one more target. Next. And there are several future research also there. How can one get a better, contrast without having to make any external arrangements, such as injecting the dye in the bloodstream? Many people would say that it is impossible. The very fact that people say it is impossible means it is a good problem to work on. So without the, touching the body of the patient, we have to get the information about the disease. So we can plan. That is not possible at present scenario. Is one challenge for us. And how can one do angiogram by non-invasive? So not inserting methods. Today it involves making an incision. How can that be avoided? So angiogram should be, remote monitoring type we have to introduce, because it should not be allowed any cut in the human patients. How can one read MRIs and ultrasound images automatically? Because MRI scan and CT scans we have seen, we are already experienced in the hospitals. The number is to give the reports. Therefore, that visual learning algorithm, deep learning algorithm can reduce the time that will be introduced. Automatically, will get the reports. How to build an imaging machine that should be smaller footprint? We have to work on that, and we have to reduce the size. Lab on chip, something you have to introduce that, so that we can reduce the complexity and bulkiness of the system. Next slide. And the introduction of 4D imaging have injected new momentum, and now 4D images are also coming up, one more new technique for the radiation therapy, and it also minimizes the small tissue complications, reduce the complications. The major advantage of 4D is that 4D imaging technology aims to track and compensate the target motion. That is very important. Target motion during radiation treatment and minimization of normal tissue injuries. So these are very important. Feature of the 4D images. So that is coming up. And the next slide. So that's all for the today's lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for sharing the information on artificial intelligence and the challenges in artificial intelligence, and showing us direction for the future research also. Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your valuable information. On behalf of Atal Academy, I thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation to be resource person for this session. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you.
Dear participants, for the day 3 session, we have come to an end of the last session, and tomorrow morning we will meet again at 9:30. So we are done with this day. Thank you. If you have any questions or would like to know any information, you may ask now. Okay, sir. Srinivasan, sir, we may leave, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Punam.
So I expect you all tomorrow morning 9:30 for the session by Integrated Microsystems, demo of the Synopsys software. Thank you all.